Happy Bi Visibility Day! Hello everyone. The 23rd of September every year is International Bi Visibility Day, when we go, hey, we're here, hiya! Today, of course, I have some book recommendations for you, because this is a book channel. So yeah, I don't know what else you expected. Quick shout out though, I did realise that my coaster, so I've got these coasters of inspirational women throughout history, and this one has got Frida Kahlo on it. So yay, Frida Kahlo. I'm hoping, all fingers crossed, that the flag behind me stays up for the whole video. It's held up by washi tape and hope, and it's not straight, but then neither am I, so I've got quite a few books to talk about today. I've got 5 recommendations, 3 honorary mentions, which are basically books that are super famous and you probably already know about, but they still deserve mentioning, and then 3 books on my TBR. All of these books have bi characters in them, and I think all of them describe themselves as bi as well, which is bonus points because bi visibility. Yay! It's a longer list than I was initially planning. But you can't expect us to choose, so without any further ado, here are some recommendations. So book number 1 is Vow of Celibacy by Erin Judge. Now, I'll admit, when I came across this book, I saw the cover and was like, saw the title, I was like, I don't know if this is a book that I want to read. But it was chosen for our book club pick, for our bisexual book club, and it was so good. It was great. So the story follows Natalie, who is a fashion designer currently working in kind of marketing in fashion. She's plus size, she's bisexual, and following a string of terrible romantic entanglements, she has signed a pledge. She's taking a year off. And this was such a great book. It was such a good exploration of Natalie as a character, and her sort of really finding confidence in herself in a way that she didn't have before. I really liked that her identity as a bi woman was never something that was sort of up for question, that there are so many other things going on in her life, but this is one thing that she's absolutely certain of. What I thought was really great is that there were some typically negative stereotypes about bi people that definitely applied to Natalie, but they weren't written that way. It never felt like she was being judged by the author or by us or by her friends, or that anything about her was a bad thing. Everything was written in such a sort of positive and uplifting way, that it was just a really, really great book. It was super. I think everyone who read it in the book club, we really enjoyed it. Our only complaint was at the end kind of just stopped. It didn't really finish off the story as we would have wanted, but otherwise, a great book. The next book I'd like to recommend to you is Exciting Times by Nisha Dolan, and this has had a lot of buzz recently because it was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction, and I absolutely loved it. It's very divisive. It has quite a low rating on Goodreads, but I loved it, 5 stars. I read it and I was like, this is why straight people love reading normal people. It's Sally Rooney for queer people. It was great. The story follows Ava, who is an Irish expat living in Hong Kong as a TEFL teacher, so teaching English as a foreign language. And she, at the start of the book, is in a relationship with Julian, who is basically a sort of sociopathic Tory kind of guy. And then she meets Edith, who is a lawyer in Hong Kong. She is Chinese, she is from Hong Kong, and is torn between these two people. It shouldn't have been so engaging to read a love triangle where one of the choices is so clearly terrible, but Nisha Dolan managed to make it work. Ava was a really interesting main character. She had so many layers and complexities to her, and some of them she examined in herself and some of them she didn't, which made for a very interesting read. And this book also deals with really interesting themes of classism and colonialism, and also how those intersect with language, which I found fascinating and definitely encouraged me to examine some of my own thoughts and feelings about things like language and dialect and things like that. So lots going on, very good book, would highly recommend. The next one on the list is a historical fiction, The Adventures of Tom Finch, Gentleman by Lucy May Lennox. This is, as I said, a historical fiction based in Georgian England, I believe, and Tom Finch is the illegitimate son of an earl. He is a musical conductor and composer who works at an opera house. He's also blind, which means that a lot of the people he works with don't take him seriously. They don't think that he can do the job that he does, but he proves them wrong time and time again. And his love interest is one of the sopranos from the opera house who is bi and has a bit of a flirtation with one of the other singers at the opera house before she gets together with Tom at the end. This was such a fun read. I love that kind of light-hearted historical fiction that also gives you a bit of a slice of life as to what life was actually like. And Tom's position as an illegitimate son of aristocracy means that he's at this intersection of the upper class and the working class, which was a really refreshing viewpoint. So if you enjoy historical fiction, would highly recommend. Again, I mean, I'd highly recommend all of these. That's why they're on my recommendations list. Next up, it's the Night Runner series by Lynn Llewellyn. Hey, no one saw that coming. I've only made about 6 videos and at least 2 of them I've talked about this series. This is a high fantasy series that follows Serigil and Alec, who are 2 night runners, which are basically like super spies for hire. And they are both bi and they are in a relationship. So the first 3 books is kind of their slow burn romance, getting together, figuring out their relationship, and then they are going steady for the rest of the series. And it's so great. And what I love is that in this fantasy world, it's cool. It's cool. It's just normal, but not for everyone. So Alec comes from a community which is very heteronormative, and Serigil is like, dude, you're in the city now. It's cool. So yes, if you love queer fantasy, Night Runner is the way forward. The final book in the first section of these recommendations is Have We Met by Camille Baker. This is actually my least favourite of the books I'm recommending today. I think I only gave it 3 stars on Goodreads. But it made it into this video because it had a great depiction of a bi character, in my opinion, and other queer characters as well. The main character of this book, Corinne, one day an app is mysteriously downloaded onto her phone. She doesn't know how it got there, and it's a dating app that claims that it can find her soulmate. And the app tells her that 4 people from her past are going to come back into her life, and one of them is her soulmate, which is such a great premise. It was such a great premise. The main love interest, Corey, is bi, and when he meets Corinne, he's just broken up with his boyfriend, and some of the ways, again, that he talked about his identity really resonated with me in this book. And I think also Corinne isn't 100% straight. It's not really discussed in the book, but one of her love interests is a non-binary person. So there's not a huge amount of heteronormativity here, which I always have time for. Always have time for. So yes, that was a nice sort of fun rom-com of a book with really great queer representation at its centre. Now I'm going to quickly shout out 3 honourable mentions. You have almost certainly heard me talk about these books because I've definitely talked about at least 2 of them already on my channel, and everyone else also talks about them. And they are The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, Red, White and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston, and The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Everyone loves these books, and for good reason. They all have bi main characters. So there you go, honourable mentions. And lastly, I have 3 books on my TBR that I thought I would mention. So the first one is Perfect on Paper by Sophie Gonzalez. I think by the time this video goes up, I will probably be already reading it. And it's a contemporary YA story about a girl who, I think she's the sort of love guru at her secondary school, high school, probably high school if it's American, and she is bi and has, I think, 2 love interests of different genders, which always here for. Then again, one that I'll probably be reading sort of as this video goes online is Fresh by Margot Wood, which is a contemporary reimagining of Emma's Jane Austen, and I think the main character is buying this one as well. And last of all for books on my TBR is Tell Me How Long the Train's Been Gone by James Baldwin. I've never read any James Baldwin, but he's an author who keeps coming up, keeps being recommended, and I'm really interested to read this one. James Baldwin was a black bisexual man living in 20th century America, and a lot of his books, I think all of his books, focus on the intersection of those identities and what it's like living in 20th century America as a queer black man. So very, very much looking forward to reading some of his books and getting to know his perspective and what he has to say. Those are just a few of the great books out there that have really good bi representation and visibility. Hooray! I am always looking for new books, especially queer books, so if you have any recommendations, then let me know in the comments. I can't do that with a mug in my hand. I hope you have a wonderful bi visibility day. Be careful out there, your stealth level will be low. And I will see you all next time. Bye everyone!